Young's Double Chocolate Stout.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've just been down Morrison's. It's a mate's birthday and I just got him a bottle of cherry gin bean because he's not really he is a beer man, he'll fucking drink anything, but I got him a bottle of that because it's his birthday. But I couldn't resist having a little browse down the aisle, or the beer aisle, and I picked up some of this. Now, someone requested this for review, an American fella, can't remember his name. He requested two. I think one was Old Roger and the other one was this one. I couldn't find this. This was out of stock for a while, but I just happened to notice that they got it in stock, so I grabbed the bottle and here we are. Now, I'm surprised I haven't reviewed this before because the Young's Brewery has got such a history. For me especially, because coming from London, I do have quite a bit of pride in the London breweries, the traditional London breweries anyway. And of course Fuller's is the biggest and the oldest operational brewery in London at the moment. But Young's used to be as well. That was the biggest until it closed, unfortunately, in 2006. And it was based in Wandsworth. And I remember, blimey, this is going back a bit now. This would have been the 80s, I think, late 80s. And at the time I was working on the building trade, I was a hod carrier. At the time, that's how long ago it was, because I was a hod carrier before I was a bricklayer. And I was doing a job in Wandsworth. I can't remember what it was. What was the job? I remember it was in Wandsworth. There was actually two jobs. I worked on, was it a job centre or something? I can't remember. It was a big building anyway on the high street. And worked on that, and I also worked on a house renovation in Wandsworth. But I do remember the Young's Brewery being there, and one of the jobs that I worked on, I'm trying to think of the name of the road, but I can't. But I had to go past the Young's Brewery, and it was still there. They kept animals in there, you know, draft horses and everything kept in there. They kept a ram in there as well, of course, the ram being the emblem of Young's Brewery. But the Young's Brewery, it goes back, way back. I mean, if you really want to be pedantic about it, the Ram pub, that was where it all started. That goes back to the 1500s. It wasn't Young's Brewery then, but beer was being brewed on that site back in the 1500s, and it was the brewery was put on that site, the Young's Brewery, that was in 1831, and the family, the Charles Young family that took that over, they had that up until 2006, and it was sold in 2006 to the Eagle Brewery, or Charles Wells, up in Bedford. But what an irony this was. The last beer that was sold, the last Young's beer that was brewed and sold in London in that pub, was at the funeral of the director of the Young's Brewery, who died just before they moved out, literally a couple of days before they moved out, and they held a funeral there and they served up the last Young's beer. Amazing scenes. In fact, do you know what? I really, it's only sort of restoked my interest in this brewery, because I remember Young's when I was growing up. They had beers in almost every pub. They also had a lot of pubs as well, and I still think they've got quite a few pubs in London and the sort of southwest. That's where they're based. Wandsworth is sort of southwest London. It used to be a shithole when I was working there, but it's quite posh now. But the pubs they had, they were all obviously selling Young's beer. I do remember Young's Light Ale being quite prevalent and all that, and you had Young's Best Bitter as well. But the chocolate stout is a new one on me, and that's something that's re-sparked my interest in in the Young's brewery. And of course, Young's now been taken over by Marstons, as all the decent breweries end up at Marstons when, you know, if they're going out of, you know, going out of fashion, or if they're going out of business, Marstons step in and take over. And I'm glad they have, just to keep that name. But of course, this beer bears no resemblance to what the beers were like years ago. It's brewed in a completely different area, different water, different hops, I would imagine, as well. So it's going to be a Marstons job. Not really excited about it, but I think Young's were going that way. They were contract brewing for AB InBev. They used to, believe it or not, they used to brew Mackesons there. They used to brew Courage Best there as well. Now, of course, they're both brewed by Marstons now as well. So, you know, everything must go, as the old saying goes. Anyway, let's stop gashing about. I really should do a whole video dedicated to that, because the history is just too complex to get into a very small segment on a review. So I may do that. I may set aside a video for each brewery that I've got an interest in. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get this beer checked out. Double chocolate stout, deliciously rich, 5.2%, 500ml bottle. Again, brewed with Marstons, as I said, but on the back it says, for chocolate lovers everywhere, a doubly indulgent stout brewed using rich dark chocolate, pure luxury in a glass. Well, there's obviously adjuncts there then. I'm pretty sure they've got chocolate flavouring in this, and I'm very wary because I'm looking on the back and it's got the Eagle Brewery. Now, if you look at Eagle's beer, they do one called Waggle Dance. They do, I think it's a sticky toffee pudding beer. That is fucking disgusting. Do not bother with that. I'm not reviewing that. They'd also do a banana bread one, which isn't very good either. So I'm a bit wary about this. I don't know what the fuck they've done to it. And I'm very wary about stuff that comes out of the Wells Brewery as well. That's another contract brewer. So, not exactly enthusiastic, am I? Let's get it out of the bottle and into a glass. As I say, I've just bought this. It's just at the right temperature. There's the cap. I really do like the cap. If you're satanic in any way, you are going to love that. There you go. Into the collection, yeah. Now, if this is artificially flavoured or novelty beer-esque, then it's going to get a shit review. Because, be honest, when you start adding adjuncts like sweets and things like that to the beer, then I start getting the arsehole. Right, what we got on the nose? Chocolate, massive chocolate. There's a little bitterness to it as well. Roasty malts. Interesting. Now, for a Marstons beer or a Wells beer, I wasn't expecting much aroma, but there is a little bit more than I thought there was going to be. It's quite lively as well. This is just about the perfect temperature for it as well. It looks quite nice, to be honest, but looks can be deceptive. Wow. Yeah, roasted malt and dark chocolate, and the body on it does seem really thick and rich. And it's, I suppose that's what they say on the front of the label. For chocolate lovers everywhere, a doubly indulgent stout brewed using rich dark chocolate, pure luxury in a glass. Okie dokie. Take your word with it. Let me see if I can get a little bit more in there. There it is in the glass. Pitch black. Is it pitch black? Yeah, more or less. You can see 3/8 of fuck all through that. That's a 1.5 finger beige head on this. It actually does look good. I will say that. It looks really nice. But the proof, of course, as always, is in the tasting. So let's get it down my fat Gregory Peck. Bottoms up. actually not bad. That is not a bad stout at all. I really wasn't expecting much from this, but it doesn't taste too bad. I thought there was going to be huge sweet chocolate on there, and it was going to be reminiscent of the sticky toffee pudding, but it isn't. It tastes like a really decent stout as it goes. Body is just on the thin side. That if I had a gripe, that would be my only complaint. Flavour's definitely there though. There's a ton of roasted malt on that. Not as much chocolate as I thought there was going to be. There is bitter chocolate on there, dark chocolate, but it isn't the sweet fest I thought it was going to be. And it's really nice. And when I say dark chocolate, I mean the bitter 100% cocoa, or 80% at least. But it isn't bad. I've tasted craft brewed stouts that haven't been as good as this. There is a smidgen of sweetness on that, but then that all gets washed away, and there is a nice roasted malt or roasted barley finish to this, and it is really good, I have to say. Surprisingly good, and that is, I wouldn't say it's blown me away, but I was ready to, I don't know, I thought it was going to be a typical Marstons beer, no aroma, very low on flavour, but quite drinkable. But it's more than that. It's very drinkable, but it's got the aroma and it's certainly got the flavour. And that has put a smile on my face, because I really wasn't expecting that. Now, of course, the Youngs is only, that's just, it's been put on there, I think, to carry on the tradition of the Youngs Brewery. But ignoring that, in its own right, which is really what everybody should be looking at when they drink a beer. I mean, for example, I bought a few Brewdog beers. Now, you know my views on Brewdog. If they're nice beers, I'll tell you if they're nice. I'm not going to let my prejudice against Brewdog influence the review of a beer. I don't think that's right. I wouldn't be honest with you if I was doing. There's no point in me doing reviews. If I've got a problem with the brewery and I'm just drinking their beers and just saying, yeah, everything's shit, then you're not really reviewing it. You're not being objective. You're just airing or venting your spleen against a brewery when you really should be concentrating on the beers. And that's what I'm doing here. And alarm bells will ring with certain breweries, and I will always point them out. But if the beer's good, then I'll tell you it's good. And regardless of these lot doing contract brewing for AB InBev, brewing some absolute fucking dog shit up in that brewery in Bedford, this is not a bad beer, believe me. The more it goes down, the more that chocolate comes out, but it isn't sweet. I'm not really getting that sickly, artificial, sweet flavour from it. I'm getting lots of roasted malt and hints of dark chocolate. Now, I think I've got the temperature right on this. This is a little below cellar temperature, and I do find that with stouts. If you drink stouts, not room temperature, but just very, very slightly chilled, I think that's the ideal temperature. You get all the flavours from a stout. If you drink stout too cold, you're going to miss out a hell of a lot. Hence the reason Guinness do Guinness Extra Cold. One, to disguise a bad pint, whether they like it or not, that's what it's done. And number two, for drinking in summer. And to be honest, I don't normally drink. I used to drink Guinness all the time, but I don't drink Guinness in summer now. This is very nice. I'm very impressed with that. So what's the verdict on Young's Double Chocolate Stout? Well, apart from reigniting my interest in Young's Brewery, now I know they've gone and this is nothing really connected to Young's. All they've done is put a Young's label on it. There is no connection really whatsoever. But all that aside, if somebody just handed that to me in a glass and said, what do you think of this? I would say, that is a really nice stout. Is it the best stout? No, it's not the best stout. Has it got some flavours in it? Oh yeah, it's definitely got some flavours and nice aromas. Is it value for money? Yes, it definitely is, because I have tasted craft stouts that have not been as good as that. This is under £2. I think it was £1.84 or something like that. I could be wrong, but I got it from Morrisons, so it's from a supermarket, so it's going to be cheap. If you're a Guinness fan, you may find this a bit rich, probably a little bit bitter. If you're a fan of craft stout, I suggest you try this. This will certainly surprise you, may even put a smile on your face like it's done with me. I really like it. It's nice, easy drinking, flavoursome stout. What more could you ask for? I'm going to give it, what am I going to give it? I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because I like it that much. It's nothing to do with it coming from London, don't get me wrong. I have absolutely, I know, well, it doesn't come from London. That's the whole point of it. Young's were in London once. They're not no more. They haven't been in London since 2006. So that's the London connection severed. But on its own merits, this is a really nice one. Just because there are better stouts out there. The West Indies Porter, that was really nice. There's others as well. Some of the craft brewed stuff. Is it Sorcery from? Is it Magic Rock? Yeah, I think Magic Rock. That was a really nice stout. And there's the other one from Wokingham, the craft brew company from Wokingham. I can't think of their name. They do a really nice stout as well. So there are better stouts out there, of course. And of course, Shepherd Neame do a really nice one as well. But this is surprisingly good, surprisingly drinkable, value for money. Can't go wrong. Yeah, nice. And remember, beer is working class champagne.